everybody, and welcome to another board game review and gameplay demo. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite games ever, and it's actually a very simple card game that can involve a great deal of conversation at the table and also a good deal of backstabbing if you really know what you're doing. The game itself is The Resistance, and today I'm actually also going to be discussing the expansion Hostile Intent as well. For those of you who haven't played The Resistance, the idea is that you are a group of people, you are the Resistance, who are going against, in this case we'll say it's an evil Arthurian government, whatever you want to call them, and the idea is that the bad guys have infiltrated your Resistance group with spies, and they are trying to sabotage your missions. So the missions are how you either win or lose. You have a total of 5 missions that you're going on, and whichever side wins 3 of the 5 missions first will win the game. It's a very fast-paced, very fun game that has a lot of intrigue, a lot of deception, and just a great deal of fun overall. It's a wonderful game. You do need a minimum of 5 players to play it, so it's a somewhat limiting factor, just depending on how big your gaming groups are or whatever else it happens to be. But it's a wonderful game to play, like I said, very fast, and just generally a lot of fun. And it has a lot of really cool, somewhat Euro-style mentality aspects to it, in the context of, did they, didn't they, are you, aren't you, in terms of, like, are you the spy, are you not the spy, who did you do, why don't you trust them, etc., etc. And the expansions add even more of that. And like I said, I'm going to be talking specifically about Hostile Intent, but there is one more expansion that unfortunately I do not have. But with that, we're going to jump right on into what this game is similar to. As far as what The Resistance is similar to, there's really only one place that you can immediately go, and that is Werewolf. Whether it's Ultimate Werewolf or Werewolf One Night is kind of a bit of a toss-up, because the thing is that with Werewolf One Night, it is literally only one time. You have one round, whatever you want to call it. Whereas with Ultimate Werewolf, you need to have a moderator in order to go amongst and between the people to try to figure out who's who, what's what, and all that kind of stuff. But after the addition of some of the expansions, particularly with Hostile Intent, you add a lot of similarities to the Resistance Avalon, which is a distinct variation of this game from the same company, obviously, but it's actually based off of the Arthurian legends and the Arthurian sort of setting, where you've got people like Percival, sorry, I'm getting mixed up with Greek, but you've got Percival, you've got Merlin, you've got Morrigan, the evil witch lady. I'm just going to leave this down on the ground right there. But just a bunch of familiar characters from the Arthurian legends. And the reason that with the addition of the expansion it becomes more like that is because the roles start to have much more diverse capabilities. And incidentally, on the inside of the box you can even see it's got an advertisement for Resistance Avalon. I don't know how well you can see it, but trust me, it's there. So those are really the games that it's very similar to. You're talking about deception, intrigue, a lot of table talk, all of that kind of stuff. And like I said, you do have some Euro feel to it, but it's, compared to something like Power Grid or things like that, this is very abstract in comparison, but still a very fun game. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get right into how to play the game, and specifically I'm going to talk about the base game first, just how the rounds go, what it feels like, what it looks like, and then I'm going to show some of the aspects for Hostile Intent and some of the ways that you can change the game up a little bit. So we are just about completely set up and ready to play some Resistance. As I mentioned, the goal of this game is to win whether you are a Resistance member or a spy. And the way you do that is by succeeding at 3 out of 5 missions for the Resistance, or failing 3 of the 5 missions for the spies. So to start off, everybody gets a set of the approve and reject tiles, and what those indicate is whether or not you will approve of a team to go on a particular mission. We also have this central card, which tells us the number of players, and based on the number of players, the number of spies that we are going to have. These are the cards that we will be using right here. So you can see we've got 3 blue and 2 red. The 2 reds obviously being the spies. We'll distribute those in just a little bit. So everybody has their voting tokens. We also have these little tokens that have the guns on them. Those will indicate to other players who has been selected to go on a particular mission. And then we have these cards, the success and failure cards, which are what are actually played during the mission. In addition, the base game also comes with these, the plot cards. The plot cards allow you to do numerous things that really help out in a lot of different ways, or they hurt in a lot of different ways, ranging from causing a successful vote to automatically fail, or you can look at somebody else's loyalty card to see if they are a resistance member or a spy, all sorts of different stuff. I personally do not use these simply because I think there's plenty enough intrigue just by itself. But that said, after I go through just a couple of rounds of the base game, I'm going to add in some of the stuff from Hostile Intent as well, so you can see how that changes the dynamic of the table. So right now, I've got this, what we colloquially call the Cobra Commander symbol. That just indicates the person who will be picking the team. And the first thing I'm going to do right now is just go ahead and distribute the loyalty cards. Now that the loyalty cards are distributed, everybody takes a look at their card, and there's a script in the rules that says that everybody closes your eyes, spies open your eyes, and look for the other spy, or other spies depending on how many characters you've got. So let's see here. I am a spy, this person right in front of me, and where is the other spy? There's the other spy. So I'm going to leave those cards flipped up for your purposes, for the purpose of the viewing audience, but know that these two people are aware that they are spies, and therefore they know that the other people are the resistance members. So what we're going to do now is I'm just going to leave those up so that you know where the spies are, and I'll just show you some of the ways that you can sort of mitigate some of the wackiness that can go on here. Right? So I am the commander. That means that I get to pick the people who are going on the mission. To determine how many people go on the mission, you just look at the big giant number underneath mission 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 respectively, and in this case mission 1 is 2 people. So more often than not, you'll want to pick yourself to go on a mission. So I will pick myself, and I will pick that person over there. Now, we have our 2 people picked, and we will go ahead and vote as to whether or not we accept this, this group here. So I will put that, and we'll say that everybody puts these down. So normally this all happens at once. Obviously, I have to go one at a time because I'm playing every single character. And also the other thing is the other vote token would be face down so that people don't know what you actually said. But look, everybody approved. Oh, that's shocking. Yay! So now that we know we are going on the mission, the 2 of us will get the success and failure cards. So I get mine, and that person gets theirs. So what's going to happen now is we each pick one of the cards. Success cards are the cards that the resistance can play, but spies can also play them. The failure cards can only be played by spies. Success cards are the only ones that the resistance is able to play. If you are a resistance member, you cannot play a failure card. You always want the mission to succeed. And like I said, the point is that you either win or lose one way or the other, whether the spies win by failing 3 missions, or whether the resistance wins by succeeding at 3 missions, that group wins the game, right? Because it's just 3 out of 5. Okay, so the thing is that there's only 2 people here. I am a spy, so I'm thinking, do I want to do this? Do I want to fail the first mission because then I'm probably going to be immediately outed as a spy, or do I want to play it safe and just go with a success? Typically, for me personally, if I end up as a spy and I end up on the first mission, I will normally play a success card. So you put the cards that you play in the middle, and then you throw out or whatever the other cards that are not being applied. Somebody else at the table shuffles the cards so that nobody knows what's what. And look, we succeeded. Huzzah! So that means that now we know, well, now we can say that, oh, these guys are both probably super good. So now on mission 1, we put the little fist. Wah! Winning, and we move the round marker forward. And now the Cobra Commander moves to the next person. right? And that's basically how a round works. It's very, very simple. Very easy game, very quick, right? So next, now it's this person's turn, and they're saying, all right, well, let's see here. I have to pick 3 people. We're on mission 2, so this is for 3 people. So there, I'll pick myself, and then the 2 people who went on the last mission. The last mission succeeded. Why wouldn't I do that? All right, so let's go ahead and do the reject or approve. So we flip these. We'll have everybody flip theirs, flippity, flippity. So again, we'll just say that everybody approves. I won't go through the entire arduous process of it. But there, look, yay, approve, 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 yay! Everybody approved. So that means this team is going out. Bum-ba-dum-ba-dum. But now, I'm the spy and I have to think to myself, I really gotta get this going. I gotta start failing some missions. I let the first one pass by, so now I'm gonna play a fail card because now there's 2 other people instead of just 1 other person. So I can theoretically hide a little bit better, and maybe this person over to my left is going to take a little bit more of the heat because they're the only person that's different from the first mission. So there they play a success and they play a success because that's all that they're able to play because they are both resistance fighters. And then all of the non-used cards go to the side. These cards are all shuffled in the middle here. And success, success, fail, no! So mission 2 failed, so we show it with the red symbol on top instead of the blue symbol. All right, oops, wrong card. We need these cards. Okay, there we go. Okay, so that's our second round. Now, we have a lot more intrigue at the table because now a mission has been failed. Now, the question is, did it fail because one of the 2 of us was lying? Obviously, you, the viewing audience, and I, the spy, know that that's the case. But then the question is, does anybody else really suspect that? Does anybody else think that that is the true case? If they think that, then they might be able to out me as a spy, but I still have my other spy friend over here, right? So just a couple of minor points to this. This is where it's really going to start to become very important with regard to voting. So now it's this person's turn to be the picker of the people, and so they don't trust me. They think that I'm the spy, so they're not going to pick me, but they will pick themselves. They'll pick that person over there, and then they'll pick my friend. Now again, my friend has never been on a mission, so they don't know. And now the question is, well, what are we going to do about this? So I'm trying to hide just a little bit. And so now we're just going to add just a touch of intrigue here to try to figure stuff out. All right, so let's see how people voted. I rejected it. This person over here rejected it. This person over here approved. My spy friend approved. And this person right here rejected. So now, instead of a majority voting to accept and approve the mission and accept this team, more people have rejected it. So what that means is 2 things. First, Cobra Commander moves to the next person, and this vote track moves up. Okay? If this ever gets to 5, that means that the spies automatically win because they caused so much chaos within the ranks of the resistance group. Okay? And what that essentially means is that if the spies are able to confuse the rest of the players so much that we cannot agree on a team to send, then it'll confuse everybody. So the idea here that I'm thinking dynamically, obviously I don't have the other people here, but this person sitting directly across from me thinks that the 2 of them are, the 3 of them are all okay. So approved. My spy friend, obviously perfectly happy with it, so they approve. And then this person over here never picked for a mission, and they're just like, all of you are spies. I don't even care. I don't even care. You're all spies. Me, I'm just trying to sow a bunch of dissension in the ranks because I know that I'm a spy. I know I played that card, and I'm like, I don't trust you 2 because I know that one of you played the fail card. I didn't play the fail card. I'm a resistance fighter. I'm on your side. And then this person is just like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about because I picked the last one, and that one failed, and I know it wasn't me, so it must have been one of you 2. So this is where all of the really massive dynamic interaction from this game comes. Is just starting, if not with the first mission, where I could have easily failed the first mission and then had a bunch of randomness and just getting the 2 of us completely shut out from the entire rest of the game, then it's a lot more fun for me as a player to really start doing stuff during the second and third missions, because that's really where, since you need more people, then it becomes a lot more murky as far as who is who and what they're doing. All right, just a very brief thing about etiquette. Now, more often than not, it's an unwritten rule where if for whatever reason, let's say that this person over here was Cobra Commander and they had their little gun symbols, and let's say for whatever reason they picked me and the other spy, okay? And let's say that the mission got approved, so we were going on this mission. The problem is we don't want to have 2 fail cards in this mission, because that is basically a death sentence for us as the spies, because then it's obvious who's who, or at least somewhat more obvious. So the basic etiquette is whoever is closest to Cobra Commander is going to play the failure card, and the other person plays the success card. That is typically the etiquette, at least the way that I have played it. So in this case, this person right here would be playing the failure card, and I would play a success. So that way, one of us might potentially be ousted as a spy, but since we're not playing 2 failure cards, we're at least a little bit better off. But either way, that's the basic flow and dynamic of the game. I haven't had a game fail based on votes before, simply because the spies are in the minority, so you will never have enough spies to reject all the way through. But at the same time, it's certainly a possibility if you sow enough dissension in the ranks, and if you have resistance players who just don't care enough, or whatever it happens to be. But either way, this is just the base game, and you can see how dynamic it gets very, very quickly. But with that, I'm going to go right on ahead, and I'm going to talk about some of the ways that hostile intent changes the dynamic a little bit. I'm just going to leave it out as it is right now, and I'm just going to sort of restart with a couple of the hostile intent things added in. Alright everybody, so we are here once again and ready to play Resistance with some Hostile Intent. Hostile Intent adds a whole lot of different modes and a little bit of modularity to it, just like a lot of other games that I absolutely love to play with. So in this case, I actually removed the regular Resistance and Spy cards in favor of all of these massive cards that are over here that will come into play in numerous different ways. So the way that Hostile Intent works is it's got 3 major modes that you can use, and I'm going to start off and talk the most about the Hunter mode, or the Hunter module, whatever you want to call it, because that's the biggest one, and that's the one that everything else is essentially based off of. So the way that this works is you have Resistance and Spy Chiefs, and then you also have Resistance and Spy Hunters. And the idea is that the Hunter's goal is to identify the chief of the other side. So for example, the Spy Hunter is trying to find the Resistance chief, and vice versa. So the way that this works is very, very similar in terms of the setup. Everybody gets their voting tokens. We've got these voting cards out and ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and distribute these, and then I'm going to talk about some of the other cards that we're going to be using as well. Very similarly to the base game, the first thing that we're going to do is the spies get to learn who the other spies are. And in this case, we do have the Spy Chief, and there's a nice little cheat sheet for the number of players that you've got. And in this case, with 5 players, you use the Resistance Chief, Resistance Hunter, and then the Spy Chief and the Spy Hunter. So the way that the script goes is that everyone closes their eyes, and the Spy Chief extends out their hand and their thumb. And you say, everybody close your eyes, extend out your hand, and then Spy Chief, stick up your thumb. So what we will do is try to figure out who the Spy Chief is. This must be the Spy Chief. So the Spy Chief is that person right there. So that person would be sticking up their thumb but still have their eyes closed. After that, the spy or the other spy will open their eyes so that they can see who their chief is. So the other spy is over there, and in this case, the only other spy is the hunter trying to find the Resistance chief. So the 2 spies know each other, and in this case, our hunter knows who their chief is. And this gets changed when you have more players, because you can have multiple Resistance and multiple spy chiefs, just depending on the number of players. And if you have multiple Resistance chiefs, then the Resistance chiefs know who each other is, but the regular Resistance players do not know who their chief is. So that's the end of the the sort of reveal phase for this. So the first thing now is with the team, we're going to assign the team. So again, I'm starting off as Cobra Commander, and I've got my little things right here. Incidentally, I am the hunter for the Resistance, so I'm trying to figure out who the spy chief is. And basically, the way that this game works, the way that it's changed now, is in order to win the game, after you complete 3 of the 5 missions, whether it's causing them to fail or causing them to succeed, you then have to successfully accuse whoever the chief is that needs to be accused. So, for example, if the Resistance successfully completes 3 missions, then the Resistance hunter needs to successfully say, you are the spy chief, and if that person is the spy chief, then the Resistance wins. If they are not the spy chief, then the success is actually turned into a failure, and then the game keeps going. It's pretty crazy. It makes for a much bigger table dynamic. So right now, we've got the things to pick the team vote, and what I do as the leaders, I take the investigator token, and I give it to somebody. So I'm a Resistance person, so I don't have a clue who anybody is. So I'm just going to give it to that guy. I don't know who it is. I don't know what he or she is doing or how they work. And now I do the same thing where I pick the team. So we'll just reset this and say that we're back to mission 1 here. So I'll pick myself, and I will pick, I don't know, I'll pick that person right there. Okay, so you guys know as the viewing audience that this is the spy chief. I, being a Resistance member, have no clue who it is. So we go into the voting phase now, and we will say whether or not we approve or reject it. So we'll just say that everybody approves it. I won't bother putting out everything. And now we get these cards. So we get these regular cards here, and we decide whether the mission will be a success or a failure. The spy chief is going to be very nice to us and play the regular success card. And look, we succeeded. Hooray! So the Resistance has successfully completed mission number 1. Now, because it was a success, that means that the leader is able to do what's called the loyalty test or the investigation or whatever you want to call it. And the way that this works is if the mission fails, whoever has the investigator token, this little guy right here, if the mission fails, that person gets to do this step. So what does this step involve? This step involves these cards, these loyalty cards. And the way that it works is you, in the case of this, when you only have 5 or 6 players, you only use the chief and not a chief. And then if you have 7 or more players, then you actually add in additional of these cards where you also have the spy chief, the Resistance chief, and not a chief. So for our purposes, we just have the chief card, which is just this blue and red chief and chief card, and then we have the not a chief card. Okay? Since the mission was a success, then I, as the leader, get to pick who will be investigated for their loyalty, and I will go ahead and send it to the person who went with me on the mission, and I'm very excited. Now, because that person is the spy chief, they will hand back this card that says they are a chief. I don't know which chief they are. I don't have a clue. I don't know which one they are, but I know that they are a chief. And that is exceedingly valuable information, especially because I'm the hunter. So I know that that could be the person I'm trying to take down. That could be the person I'm trying to accuse. Or it could be my best good friend. I don't know. Obviously, you as the viewing audience know it's the person I'm trying to take down. So you can see how immediately this really gets off to a pretty insane start with regard to getting everything going here. We'll go ahead and play another round right now. So we'll take these back. So now it's this person's turn, the spy chief. And again, the spy chief doesn't know who the other spy is. They don't know. So what they're going to do is they will pick themselves, and they'll go ahead and pick me, and then they'll pick that guy over there. And then the investigator token goes out. This person will get the investigator token. So now there is 2 spies, but this person is not aware of it because they are the spy chief, right? Everybody votes. Everybody says, okay, that's fine. I'm a little bit weirded out because you know, I wanted to be on the mission, these 2 people wanted to be on it, fine, whatever. All right, but everybody goes on ahead and approves it. Everybody gets their cards. And I mentioned earlier the basic table etiquette. If you are the leader and you are a spy, then you are typically the person who plays the failure card. Anybody else does not play it. So in this case, this particular spy knows that they shouldn't be playing the failure card because they're with the chief. So the chief is going to play their fail card, and then the other two of us will be playing our successes. Oh no, we failed! No! Oh dear, whatever shall we do? So the second mission is a fail, and because it was a failure, now the person who was picked as the investigator gets to send out these loyalty cards. So what does that mean? That means that they get the loyalty cards and they send it to whoever they wish. So they will send it to this person. This person is the hunter for the spies, but not a chief. So they will send back the not a chief card. As the investigator or the leader who gets to send out the loyalty cards, you can discuss the information to your heart's content. You can say whatever you want about it, but you cannot reveal the cards that were given to you. You can't outright say, like, this is what they gave to me. So in other words, they got the card that said not a chief, and they could easily say, this person is a chief. Oh, no. It becomes a lot more interesting when you get in with more players, and you're using the resistance chief and the spy chief cards, because then you really, really know what's going on. And so the biggest thing that changes with this hunter module, like I said, besides the fact that once somebody wins three, whether it's 3 succeeding or 3 failing, then the hunter has to reveal themselves. So I would have to be like, I am the resistance hunter. We just succeeded in our 3rd mission, and I believe that you are the spy chief. And then they can look at their card and they'll be like, I am not the spy chief. And then my card stays revealed. Everybody knows that I am the resistance hunter, but all that we know is that that person is not the spy chief. They could still be a spy though. Okay, so you can see how massively this changes the dynamic, just if nothing else than with the loyalty cards and being able to tell, are you a chief or not a chief? And then with more players, are you a good guy or a bad guy, effectively, is what you can get. So very, very ridiculous. Absolutely crazy stuff. In addition, as a hunter, you can actually try to end the game early. So in other words, before we even complete 3 things, I could reveal myself as the hunter and say, I think that you are the spy chief, and if I'm correct, we automatically win, even without having 3 successes. So it's pretty crazy. But the other major note for as far as the number of players is if you have 7 or more players, then you start adding in a 3rd card. You add in these chief fail cards. And what these say is these can only be played by the spy chief, and you only use them with 7 or more players. So the idea being, if you see that card, you know that one of the people was the spy chief. And the basic dynamic becomes you get a success card, a fail card, and a chief fail card. If you are the chief and you want to fail a mission, you have to play the chief fail card. You cannot play a regular fail card. This is with 7 or more players playing with this. And that's just to sort of balance out the fact that you're trying to shuffle through a lot more people as the resistance and the spies to try to figure out who's who and what's what and who's doing what. So that's really where that aspect comes from, not to mention having the additional loyalty cards saying exactly who you are as well. Okay? And like I said, the investigator, they get to take a look at somebody if the mission fails. If the mission does not fail, if it succeeds, then the person who is the leader, the Cobra Commander, gets to take a look at, gets to send out the loyalty cards instead. And like I said, in order to actually win the game, you have to successfully accuse the chief as the hunter. Whoever the hunter is has to successfully say who the chief of the other side is, and then they actually win. Okay? So like I said, this is by far the biggest module for this entire thing, and there are several different ways that you can change it up. First off is the dummy agent. With the dummy agent, you can actually reveal yourself as a chief. You are not actually a chief, but it's basically during the loyalty phase where you send back these cards. Excuse me. During the investigation phase, you can send back a card that says you are the chief, but you're actually the dummy agent. So people might think you're the chief, but you're actually not. And and of course, if you have 7 or more players, then you can actually play the resistance chief specifically, because that's the whole point. The other thing, one of the other variants is the coordinator. The coordinator is a resistance member who is known by the chief, but if they are accused, then the spies still win. So this is something where the chief for sure knows that that person is a resistance, so that it becomes easier to select good teams. The problem obviously becomes if you keep selecting these two people over and over and over, you know that they are resistance, or as the spies, you know for sure that they're resistance, and they are most likely the chief and the coordinator. But so either way, if you get accused, then you win. And the way that the text works is it's the resistance chiefs open their eyes and the coordinator raises their thumb, so that way the resistance chief knows who the coordinator is, and that way they're able to tell for sure who a friend is. The other one, and one of my personal favorites, is actually the deep agent, the spy deep agent, and it's a spy who does not know who the other spies are, but the other spies know who that person is. So as the deep agent, then you know that you are a spy, but you're so deep undercover that you don't have a clue who your friends as other spies are. Next, the resistance pretender. This is kind of a funky one. This actually appears as the deep agent. So you are pretending to be the deep agent. And the way that this works is the spy chief, the deep agent, and the pretender all extend their thumbs. So everybody seems like they're all spies, but one of them is actually just the pretender, is actually really just is actually a true resistance member. So it's pretty ridiculous. It's pretty insane. And with the pretender, you actually get a new mechanic called blame, where the deep agent can actually accuse somebody of being the pretender, because the pretender is pretending to be the deep agent. And if they're correct, they actually switch their cards and loyalty. And if they're incorrect, then you just know who the deep agent is, but that's it. So it's pretty ridiculous. But with that, I'm going to go right on ahead into one of the other major modes and just cover it very briefly, which is the Inquisitor mode as well. So the Inquisitor mode for this game is relatively similar to the Investigator portion for the Hunter module, but it's a little bit more involved, and it uses different cards, where the idea of the Inquisitor is that you're actually directly asking about loyalty. You are saying specifically, are you loyal, or are you a member, or are you a spy? Are you a resistance, or are you a spy? And the way that it's set up is whoever is going to be the Inquisitor, which is this token right here, it starts off with the person to the left of Cobra Commander. And then after the end of, I believe it is rounds 2, 3, and 5, if I'm not mistaken, but I am not certain off the top of my head now. 2, 3, and 4, I apologize. So after 2, 3, and 4, you give the Inquisitor token to another character, as well as these two cards that say Loyalty Inquisitor on the back, and then they have to send you back the true one, whichever one they actually are. And then again, as the person doing the Inquisition, then you can say whatever you want. You can say, oh my god, they're a spy, everybody get them, even if they are not a spy. And the example in the book is actually exactly what happens there, where a person who is a spy gives the Inquisitor token to somebody, and even though the person responds with resistance, they still say that person is a spy, they just told me. You can say whatever you want, but you cannot reveal the card. In addition, after you have sent off the Inquisitor token, it can't be sent back to you. So you can't just send it back and forth. It has to be different people every single time. So it's a pretty cool little thing. That's it for the Inquisitor. It's a nice thing that you can actually combine with the Hunter module as well. But that's the entirety of it. Is it adds these additional loyalty cards, and really it's something that you only want to do with a lot of players. It can be very, very difficult if you have far fewer players. The last major module, whatever you want to call it, for this particular expansion is what is called the reverse module, and that does exactly what it sounds like, where you have these cards that say reverse on them. And what these do is these literally reverse the result of the of the mission. So in this case, we've got both the resistance and the spy reversers. And what happens then is, depending on the number of players and what modules you're using, you can get up to 4 cards. You can get the success and the fail, the chief fail if you're playing with the hunters and you have more than 7 players, and then also the reverse. The reverse can only be played by the reverser, and just like in math, if you have 2 reverse cards, then it changes it back to whatever it was initially. It's absolutely ridiculous. But the way that it changes is you can only ever have 2 of the reversers. You can pick and choose whether you want one or both. And then the whole point is that they literally just reverse whatever the original thing was. So if it was a success, then it's now a failure. And if it was a failure, it is now a success. So for me, I really don't like the reverser thing, simply because it can be exceedingly difficult to really determine what is good to play at what time. Is it good to play a reverse? If you're playing a reverse and like, let's say you're the spy reverser. Why would you play a reverse when you can just play a fail card instead? You know, stuff like that. It makes less sense to me than some of these other modules, but there's still some kind of cool stuff. And actually, one of the options for the spy reverser is they don't reveal themselves as a spy during the spy reveal phase. But again, I really don't make sense of it too much. It's just really weird. But so the thing is that it's still all the same as far as the loyalty cards and everything. If you are the spy reverser, you still give like the spy card if you're playing with the Inquisitor, and if you're playing with the regular loyalty cards, you still say not a chief, obviously, because you're not a chief. But the reverser, without a doubt, probably my least favorite of these modules, simply because it causes way too much chaos into something that you can already barely plan. But either way, Hostile Intent as an expansion, absolutely incredible. Very good modular expansion with a lot of really, really cool, very interesting stuff that you're able to use. But with that, I hope that you enjoyed this demo. I know that with Hostile Intent, I went a little bit crazy as far as trying to show everything at once, but I hope that it was at least somewhat clear enough to make you guys curious. And not only that, but with the base game, just to try that out at the very least. Either way, I hope you enjoyed it. And now I'm just going to go right into some pros and cons and also my general conclusions about this game. I hope that you liked my demonstration for the Resistance as well as for Hostile Intent, the expansion for it. Like I said, it is a wonderful game. It's a ton of fun. The only really major beef that I have with it as far as the pros and the cons, the biggest con for me is the fact that you need a minimum of 5 players to play. Because at least for me, typically, when I go to game nights at my friendly local game store, we tend to break off into groups of right around 3 to 4-ish. That's really a sweet spot for a lot of different games, and not only that, but for a lot of different companies as well. And you get a good balance of strategy and time with it. Whereas with this, I mean, yes, it's very, very short, but needing to have 5 players, and not only that, but needing to have at least probably 7 or so to make it really reasonably balanced as far as the number of spies to resistance ratio. It's a little bit tough to get the group going for it, but once you do, again, since it's such a fast game, you can play it multiple times, which is great. There's a lot more pros than cons for this, obviously, for me. I love games regarding deception and betrayal and intrigue and all that kind of stuff. I love the table talk that you get. I love the flying accusations across the table and all around to everybody. It just makes for a wonderful experience, regardless of if you're playing with friends or strangers. And not only that, but there is a very, very deep strategy in this game, even with just the base game, in the context of how do you work your votes. You can purposely vote down a team if you're uncertain about one or more of the people. You can purposely vote up something if you know for sure that they're gone. You know, whatever it happens to be. It's something where you kind of have to look a little bit for it, so maybe partially a con as far as the strategy, simply because you need to think a little bit more about where the strategy actually is in this game. But once you find it, and once you're really able to utilize things like the voting process and stuff like that to your advantage to get more information, it is a truly wonderful great experience that I would be glad to have on any game night anywhere. I hope that you enjoyed my review and demo for the Resistance and for its expansion Hostile Intent. And with that, as always, please put any and all comments below, or any and all feedback below, whether it's a game that you'd like to see me review, any feedback on this video itself. I'm trying to get these videos to be at a little bit higher level in the context of getting better quality video and audio, so I hope that's that you guys are able to see that and that it helped out a little bit. But please let me know how that aspect is going, and like I said, any games that you'd like to see me review. And particularly, I'm curious if you guys would like me to implement some kind of a true rating system as opposed to just simple like the pros and cons thing that I've been doing, which I think still gives a decent amount of information, but maybe a rating system would be better for some of you. But either way, thank you so very much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Thank you very much again for watching my review and gameplay demo for the Resistance and its expansion Hostile Intent. I hope that you enjoyed it, and as always, please put any and all feedback in the comments below, as well as any suggestions for any games that you'd like to see in the future. As always, I've got several of my playlists linked up at the top of the page so that you can see some of my other content, and go ahead and click that big giant subscribe button to see stuff from me in the future. In addition, I am now on Twitter at DannyCGamingSci, so you can go ahead and follow me to see when I post new videos and also when I start live streaming video games. With that, thank you so much again, and I will see you next time.